And I'm going to preface this: none of us have any education, degree, or real knowledge in terms of climate change. So take this as with a grain of salt. But wouldn't having a giant ice head eventually help with the Earth? Or let's get into the bold predictions, though. I'm actually going to kick it off because mine's a goofy one. My bold prediction is that I will throw a temper tantrum because the CGI is just going to get worse.
Oh, wow.
The She-Hulk, like when she turns into the She-Hulk, Jen, it just does not look good. It looks very, very bad. A lot of the stuff in Mexico, in the secret, in the Tony built facility or whatever, was also very kind of video game looking and shiny. Their fight sequence between the Hulk and She-Hulk was interesting, but again, goofy looking CGI. It's some of the worst that I've seen.
I'm gonna push back a little here. It's like we've had like many of these shows now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
None of them look particularly good. So I
Loki
guess for
looked
me,
good.
it's like the expectation has kind of fallen at this point. Of like, well, this is what we're getting with Disney Plus. It's not necessarily going to improve,
Blow your mind.
And like we've also had the CGI, all the CGI stuff is like falling behind because Marvel is a terrible client. Stuff that's come out in the last 2 months. So like I hear the criticism, but like this point, it's just like it is what it like. I wouldn't like. Were you expecting groundbreaking CGI at this point with everything?
I
like,
was expecting
that you've seen in the last 2 years.
Something a little bit better than what
You're
we got. Like
expecting
it's
Blade
pretty,
Runner?
But how,
it's
right?
pretty
Like
bad.
literally, the CGI artists have come out and said like, we don't have time to make any of this stuff look good, and like this is what's happening. So like, would anything have really changed in a month, knowing like how long good CG takes? Like,
No, definitely
No.
not. But again, like I made this point the other day when we were talking about Day Shift and the idea of the trope of an action movie. It's what we're to expect. Okay, I get that, and I get the CGI is whatever, but at the same time, still going to make the point that it is still bad in the hopes that maybe one day somebody says, okay, we know that the timelines are shit. Maybe we put makeup on or something, or do practical effects with She-Hulk, or there's a
Well,
variety of
think-
other ways to like go about it. It's not that you were kind of locked in to one way of doing something. They've locked themselves into that, and that's fine. But at the same time, still going to criticize it.
No, that's fine, but it's just a really weak, bold prediction. In fact, it's not bold at all. It's to be expected.
I said mine was goofy.
It's not.
You
It's
could-
weak. It's just weak.
it's a cold prediction.
Well, let's hear
Yeah, cool.
let's hear your bold prediction. That's
is
your
tough.
bold prediction.
I can go if you need time.
No, I'm gonna go. I'll go because mine's can't happen. Yeah, I'm known for giving the bold predictions that
Christian, I
can't
swear to
happen.
God, if you say Miles Morales shows up in animated form, I'm going to leave.
No, mine won't happen. But that's why it's bold. That bar is the same bar as the bar from Venom, and there is a symbiote hiding in the bar, and it's gonna
Wait,
take
which
over Bruce.
bar?
Bruce's bar in Mexico.
Wait, you're saying that bar? Oh, I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
Yeah. And there's a symbiote hiding, and it's going to take over Bruce. So I think that they've brought Bruce back and made him the Hulk again to make him a Hulk symbiote and be a bad guy going forward.
I mean, that is pretty bold.
What the fuck?
The end. I know it can't happen because Sony and Marvel
Have you ever
weird
Googled
siblings.
Have you ever Googled Hulk Venom? It's actually quite horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, and now I will. Also, real quick, I want to shout out the show. I don't think we see sibling relationships in shows all the time. I don't think I've seen a cousin relationships, and cousin to me is interesting because it's like sibling adjacent. It's like the sibling you choose because cousins, there's no real, at least for most families, there's no real impetus to stay close. Right. The fact that you choose to stay close means it's like the sibling that you choose. Right. So, and I think they've done a really good job. I like the Bruce Jen dynamic. I hope we get to see more of it. It's like sibling adjacent. It's playful. they're friends but kind of siblings at the same time. So
You're forgetting about the greatest cousin relationship in media history from a video game, actually. Grand Theft Auto 4, Nico Bellic and Roman Bellic.
Cousin.
no, you're right. You're right. That is the best.
That
is the bar.
That is the
That's
top
the bar.
shelf of
Yeah,
cousin
that is the best. You're right. Cousin.
So if you want to be close, so basically what Arjuna is saying, if you want to be close to your cousin, text them randomly and say, or call them and say, hey, let's go
We have
bowling.
to go do crimes.
No, go bowling.
Nico, let's go bowling.
Bowling. Oh my god. Arjuna, your bowl prediction?
Okay, my bold prediction is going to be that we will finally, in the MCU, get an Eternals reference within She-Hulk.
That's too bold. I put that up there with Arjuna, with Krishna's bold prediction. It can't happen. It's too out there.
I just think
Wow.
the DNA of this show just seems to be very self-referential, and Ravi is not the first. Like, a lot of people have complained about the lack of Eternals connecting to anything in the MCU so far.
I think those are all Ravi burner accounts.
You're right.
He's
could
the only
be.
one.
But he's made enough of a splash where I think it's gonna pop onto the radar of the She-Hulk team. They're gonna finally be like, let's reference it.
Again,
Or-
as long
Oh, I
as
know
long
how. I
as
know
like
how.
it was my qualifier. Like I said, like you could even do something as simple as construction crews are working around the clock, or like she's a lawyer. Maybe there's an accident or something, and that's a lawsuit that's happening because they have to remove this fucking giant ice thing sticking out of the earth.
I think the way-
Sorry, go ahead, Krishna.
I was gonna say the way to real quick to introduce the Eternals or make it a thing is that a climate change group are going after the Eternals for causing environmental damage with these big heads.
Wouldn't that like,
so you have to defend them.
and I'm going to preface this: none of us have any education, degree, or real knowledge in terms of climate change. So take this as with a grain of salt. But wouldn't having a giant ice head eventually help with the Earth, or am I completely insane? I thought we were
It would
drying
cause
up.
flooding. It would cause flooding.
Right, but
Which- no, no,
eventually
no.
wouldn't it like settle and like help?
No, because the
heal?
climate is the
Dynamic.
Earth is getting hotter, so the ice caps are melting, which is making the ocean floor rise, which is bad.
The
Right,
sea
but then if you
levels.
have all this ice there, well,
It
then
would
I guess
also
would
melt
displace-
and continue to add to that.
yeah,
causing
also
more
is
flood.
that water like extra like out from outer space? Because if it is, or was it made on Earth?
Well, no,
That-
she
that
converted-
celestial
she
was on
turned it-
Earth the whole
yeah,
time.
Oh, it was on Earth. Okay.
Yeah, it was inside
that's
the
good.
core, and then
Because if it was
she
from
turned it.
if it was from outside of Earth, that'd be really bad. Because then you're just adding water. But that's fine. It's not, so it's fine.
You know what, guys? I can actually help here. There's a game called Universe Sandbox 2. I can probably
Run the
recreate
simulation.
This. I'll run the simulation.
Run
Get
it.
back to you.
I will say this: there is one other thing with Eternals that we haven't brought up because we talked about the timeline. Eternals could be like so far, like not so far, but like in the future of when a lot of these MCU movies and TV shows are taking place, which is why it hasn't been referenced. Potentially.
I believe there was someone said it takes place at a particular time. Like
but
it-
there's nothing concrete in the movie where or like enough
Sure.
that puts you in there where they couldn't change it. You know what I'm saying? There's not like it's not like Spider-Man Homecoming where it's like 4 years after the Avengers, or like 8 years after the Avengers, which is wrong, right?
That would be kind of cool if Eternals, like we find out Eternals is like 20 years in the future.
I don't
Like,
think
that would
it's
be like
20.
a pretty cool
I don't think it's like-
revelation, right?
I don't think it's like 20, but it might be like
Yeah.
a 2,
10.
you know?
or a year.
10. Make it 10.
Because look, the Hawkeye the Hawkeye show stuff hasn't been referenced in the shows either. Maybe that's also like a little further in the future.
Well, then, but no, there's the reasoning behind the time place of Hawkeye is because it's the holidays,
Right.
and yeah, the holidays
which
basically.
holiday?
Well, it's the holiday of following the snap or whatever, something like that.
Is it?
That's what there are tons of things out there article wise that explain it better than I could off the top of my head, but yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.